just get started so we can keep it into within the hour for everybody. So my name is Emily Robinson. I'm the owner of Rally Point Title Agency. Today's webinar is really going to focus on the basics and fundamentals of a short sale, what you need to look out for with a short sale, opportunities within them, and questions to ask your clients, sales, pretty much going to dive into dissecting what a short sale is and how we can help our clients through it. Our company is Rally Point Title, so we're title and settlement for all types of real estate transactions. Typically in New Jersey, working with the buyer side of any kind of real estate transaction. And really my background and experience in title was really in the short sale, foreclosure, sheriff sale sort of realm, from a processing paralegal perspective. So I hope we have some good insights for you today as we go through this. So I'm going to keep my time kind of short here so we can get into Matt's expertise of really, I guess, giving us more information on short sales. But for what we do, I'm going to just kind of keep it brief, right? Today, just understanding title, like where does title tie into, like why is it important for you to know about title really before you start the short sale process. The biggest thing, so what we're doing really as a title company is searching the property, judgments, property liens, bankruptcy, probate, surrogates, and doing escrow and settlement for the closing. But really understanding how those liens can affect the property can kind of make a big difference within a short sale, because if you have a client that is going to sell and go this route, right? Apply for short sale approval, negotiate with their lender, things like that. Knowing title ahead of time can really be a crucial part of it, because if you submit some kind of approval to the bank or try and work things out for the short sale, not knowing those liens ahead of time could really maybe have to repeat the process, or maybe the buyers have to cover costs, things like that. So that's really what I just want to focus on today, is just the importance of knowing the title ahead of time if you know that you're going to be going through a short sale with your clients. This slide is really just what it is, how it's done. I think everybody on the call really does, we're all in real estate. We know what title company does, but at the end of the day, the title company is clearing the liens, right? And how we do that proactively and efficiently is really how we get through this as smooth as possible. And really with a short sale, that can take a lot of time if there's too much back and forth or things are missed. You really want a title company who's really moving that along with you, because it can really become a process that's, not always so timely if you don't have the right people working with you. So I'm going to skip through some of this just so I can get to the short sale part. So the basics of a short sale, right? It's when the homeowner submits a financial package or application to their lender seeking approval to sell the property for probably less than they owe, right? So it's a lot of times it's happening when they're a little underwater on their property, but they can avoid foreclosure this way. So things that are sort of different with short sale versus foreclosure is, in a foreclosure, the bank is going to file their suit, go through the process, bring it to a sheriff sale, and send it out for auction and bid, right? In a short sale, the seller is still listing the property. They're still going to sign the deed. They're still going to pay the debts that they have. They're going to get rid of some judgments, things like that. Like all of that is still going to be handled at a closing. The seller's still going to be involved in signing the settlement package, things like that. So it's really not a bank-owned thing. The seller is still going to be signing on their own behalf. And most of the time, the seller doesn't get any proceeds from it. So in a traditional sale, the seller is going to, pay off their mortgage, pay off their items. They're going to walk away with proceeds. In a short sale, they're really not. The bank is kind of agreeing to go ahead and maybe take less than they might be owed, pay off other debts, and the seller's probably going to walk away with zero. And then every now and then you do see ones where the short sale lender, or really their lender, is only going to agree to pay certain items or certain liens. So you do sometimes get the buyer who has to cover other things that might traditionally be on the seller side. So those are probably the main differences with foreclosure, is that the seller is still very much involved, and the additional liens aren't necessarily wiped away like a foreclosure would be, they'd still have to pay a lot of that. Or like I said, the buyer might cover it. Possible benefits to the buyer, right? It could possibly be less expensive. That's really hit or miss because there could be a listed property. It could maybe be going for a little bit less than a normal sale, especially if it's as is, right? Maybe if it was abandoned or not well taken care of, could be a lower price point for a buyer. Could be less competitive. And I say that because some people don't want to deal with a short sale. It's not the easiest process to go through. You really need to know what you're doing to go through it. And it's a little less risk than a sheriff's sale. Maybe you don't have several bids, and you don't necessarily have to deal with the bank either. So for the seller, they're avoiding foreclosure, number one, right? Like they might be able to move on, get a mortgage elsewhere, although it would still be difficult, it's possible. Different fees that and debt that might get absorbed by the lender for taking less money than maybe normally would have been owed if they just sold traditionally. And that, right, they can possibly move on without having to deal with the stain of a foreclosure. And then, you know, really the drawbacks to it, like I said before, is time. Could take a while, could take several months, could take several weeks to get for a short sale approval, could affect your credit, and then just delays in mortgage. So I think it's really about just delaying and the time scheme that could be some of the drawbacks for people. If you have a buyer that they know they want to move into a house in a month and it's a short sale, you know, that's very possible that's probably not going to happen. So things like that, you have to really kind of be patient with a short sale. So I'm going to kind of just touch on this. The biggest part of dealing with some of the short sales we see from the title company perspective is that most of the time people want the title up front, which makes sense because there could be liens that maybe you could do a quick search, you know, publicly online and see a few mortgages, but then there's other items as well, like taxes or even if it's just unpaid taxes and they didn't file a lien yet, water, sewer, condo association dues, all of these things that are going to come due when you go to sell, like on the closing day, even if it's a short sale, that you might not see sort of from a surface level of just looking at the property. So a title company is really going to find these things for you so that they're not missed in your short sale approval. Because if your short sale gets approved without naming all of the liens that are really there, or you forget one or miss one, then you can't close and they got to do the short sale approval all over again. Or they're going to try and have the buyer collect, pay or be responsible for some of the other items to get clear title. I'm just going to ask, like, if you're not on mute, if you could just mute yourself, just so there's no background. And then, so I'm going to probably turn it over to Matt now, but just, you know, I always want to mention, like, buyers don't know a lot about title. Explaining cost to them is very important. On a short sale, it's pretty much the same for title insurance. It's the same process. Your title company is going to clear the title with your seller, no matter how long that or short that takes. The price is pretty much the same, but the added fees to a short sale, or I don't want to say fees, but sometimes just covering liens is different than a traditional sale. If a traditional sale has the seller paying final water balances or a past due condo balance, I do see every now and then where the buyer might be responsible for that, or they might negotiate it in a way on their contract that the buyer is going to take on those costs. I'm just leaving here our information, but I want to get to Matt because I know he has a lot of good information to share with you guys. Matt is the owner of Realestate Recovery Group. They specialize in short sales. He wrote a book about short sales and, you know, what's the term? The short sale savage, I believe it's called, that he can tell you more about. So I'm going to turn it over to him so that we can get some of that insight. And then maybe if you want to drop questions in the chat, we'll probably end like 10 or 15 minutes before 12 and we can go through some of that. So I'll stop sharing now so that Matt can. And I think you should be able to share if you can.
Please. See?
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah.
you.
Great. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, old friends and new friends, for coming on. I really appreciate it. Um, so my name is Matt Merenoff. I run a company called Realestate Recovery Group. I've been doing short sales, loss mitigation work for 20 years now, since 2005. In 2015, I took my concept of my company nationwide because I felt that there was a need for the type of service that I provide. There's a lot of real estate agents that are out there that try to do short sales. They're not successful. Unfortunately, we are getting transactions where real estate agents are trying to desperately navigate through short sales. Brokers are making it and explicitly telling real estate agents stay away from short sales, go after low hanging fruit. We're making it kind of like the rotisserie chicken that used to see late night TV, set it and forget it. My company does 93% of the work, and hopefully you'll see what I see, the information I'm going to provide. Now, the fundamentals of short sales that I offer is changing over and over again. So the original version that I did, and if you're seeing this maybe for the second time, might not look the same because I'm updating things as they come along with the fundamentals. So with that said, let's get into it. Hold your questions to the end, and I hope you enjoy the presentation. So, fundamentals, short sales, navigating through opportunities, and engaging with distressed sellers in real estate. Now, this is a question people keep asking me weekly, sometimes even daily. How could people possibly be in foreclosure in 2024? Well, I'm going to give you guys a couple of tidbits that hopefully will make you understand. And at the end of it, or not at the end of it, anybody that enrolled for this, we are going to be sending out the presentation so you guys will have it, so you can review it at a later date if you want. So, economy downturn. Okay. So everybody keeps talking to me about like the economy and the reductions in business and activities, companies downsizing, shutdowns resulting in worldwide spread job losses. Job insecurity, loss of income is obviously affecting the ability for people to pay their mortgages. I'm seeing people now that are picking up two, maybe even like two part-time jobs or a part-time job to try to pay their bills. And hopefully at the end of this slideshow, you guys will understand why this is happening. And sometimes it's better off to sell the property, preserve the equity, and not go into foreclosure. What is going on right now in the industry and what I'm seeing and the impact is significant um, reduction in income for people, and it's making homeowners very challenged to be able to pay their mortgages. So I'm seeing people now that are starting to miss their payments, or if you've noticed, or you noticed during COVID, people that did not pay their mortgage and they were hoping and praying that there's going to be another bailout program, but unfortunately, there wasn't. So people that had lower interest rates are in massive trouble right now that had 2.5%, 3%, 3.5% interest rates, now faced with almost 7% interest rates. That's pretty scary. So just to give you guys an example, and I'm not saying 2008 is going to happen again. I'm using this as an example. But during the crisis of 2008, the U.S. Experienced a massive wave of foreclosures. Okay, unemployment rates soared to 10%, leaving millions unable to pay their mortgages. Led to over 2 million homes being foreclosed between 2008 and 2009. That is massive numbers. Obviously, high inflation rates. Everybody knows. Everybody always talks about eggs, where eggs used to be, $1.50, $2. I had to buy eggs the other day in a pinch, and believe it or not, I actually went to my local 7-Eleven, paid $5.25 for a dozen eggs. That's ridiculous. Um, Essential items, as I said, food, healthcare, home insurance, even utilities now are becoming even costlier. I actually just got a utility bill and I went up to my local town, like Mawa moms and dads, and there's other people complaining. Their bill that used to be 300 something dollars a month has now jumped to $700. Now, I don't know if they had a cyber attack or whatever it is, but I know that my utility usage did not change. So I'm not paying my bill, and I'm definitely going to call them. Some of the other impacts that are happening. Households with homeowners that don't have the disposable income, right? Being able to cover their basic needs. I talk to people now that are having very hard times being able to cover their child care, right? Leaving very abysmal amount of mortgage payments. Or I'm talking with asset managers, and asset managers are making it clear to me that they're seeing a massive wave now, whereas people used to pay their mortgage earlier. They're seeing people cusping around that, that 15-day mark when the mortgage payment is due. Okay. Now, over time, consistently high inflation can drain the savings in financial reserves. So people that I'm talking with that are homeowners are saying, "Hey, I don't have any homeowner or overtime now. I'm panicked because I used that overtime money when I initially purchased my mortgage 2 years ago, 3 years ago." So I'm seeing people that are facing having to sell their houses now that even purchased their properties at 100% financing. Unfortunately, I don't care what anybody says, the market is starting to turn a little bit right now, and you're seeing more inventory coming on the market. What does that tell you? It's going to become a buyer's market. What does that tell you? People aren't going to be paying for or overpaying for properties anymore. Now, in 2023, inflation rates in some regions hit over 7%. That's significant. Okay. That's a massive hit for cost of living expenses. Again, people are spending more money on fuel, utilities, and they're having a hard time allocating those funds to pay those bills. What about the people that are jacking up their credit cards right now? Seeing an uptick in people with credit card debt. If there's any mortgage professionals on here and you're talking about refinancing people, they're refinancing and cashing out or trying to pay off their debt because they've been living on credit cards for the last 2 months, paying the difference of their mortgage. So, and that's something similar to what I had during 2005, where people's interest rates were low, the adjustable rates changed, and now their mortgage payments went up. Let's talk about adjustable mortgage rates as arms. Inflation obviously has a lot to do with what's going on, making goods and services more expensive. Okay, so essential items such as food, healthcare, utilities, they are becoming what? Costlier. Anybody have a situation where their homeowner's insurance policy went up, where their auto policy went up? I have a friend of mine who owns two cars, 2018 and a 2020. Those two cars are absolutely paid off. He was paying, I think, 16 and close to $1,700 a month a year in auto insurance. It's now $5,800 for those same vehicles in Florida. So you're going to see these types of things starting to impact people that are in trouble. These are the types of conversations and the things that you're going to have to talk with somebody, that if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I'm thinking about selling my car. My car. I'm thinking maybe the car too. I'm thinking about selling my house. What do I need to do? Do I need to sell my house? Can you help me?" Because I'm having real estate agents reaching out to me now and saying, "Matt, I'm not a financial expert. These people are asking me questions about their finances." So again, the market is starting to turn. So when interest rates rise, mortgage payments can increase significantly. Homeowners who initially could afford those payments might not be able to afford those mortgages anymore. They might not be able to obtain um, homeownership. They might have to go rent. Let's say their initial mortgage payment was $1,200. Now their payment is $1,800. That's an increase of $600 to the average homeowner. And incidentally, I don't know if this is true or not anymore, but I thought the average homeowner only has about maybe $2,000 in savings. The average homeowner is living paycheck to paycheck. Do you think that an additional $600 a month is going to increase the opportunity for real estate agents to help homeowners that are in trouble prior to going into foreclosure? The answer is yes. Medical expenses. Medical expenses. We had an emergency visit the other day. It's $100 copay. We had a situation. They brought in a doctor. You sign off on all that paperwork when you go into the hospital. The paperwork that you sign locks you into saying, yes, I agree. But what if that doctor's not in network? Maybe there's not a doctor on call and they have to bring in like a plastic a surgeon or an abdominal specialist like we need. Okay. Now they're telling us that we have to pay that additional money out of pocket. I'm not paying that. So, as you know, healthcare prices are going up. They are not going down. And I'm hoping with the new election, whoever comes in play starts to kind of like level the playing ground because auto insurance is going up, healthcare insurance is going up, homeowners insurance is getting out of control. And in some places, significantly, insurance companies are leaving those states. So, what does that tell you? It's pretty scary out there. So, large medical bills can obviously deplete your savings in your emergency funds. I'm dealing with people that are in distress. I'm dealing with homeowners that are looking for options. If nothing else that you get on this seminar webinar, just remember this: when you're talking with somebody who's in trouble or might be in trouble, or maybe they're not in trouble, and you're doing mainstream real estate and you want nothing to do with distressed real estate, that's fine. But keep this in mind. You always want to ask them, are you looking for options? What kind of options are you looking for? Especially when you're dealing with somebody that might have had the property already listed. See, your property is already listed, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but the property didn't sell. If you don't mind me asking, what are you looking to do? What type of options are you looking for? You'll get a different response than the average real estate agent that's out there. So the long and short of this is the financial burden, right? We're talking about and possibly maybe homeowners not being able to pay their mortgage. What's the first thing to do? What's the first thing to go when somebody can't pay their mortgage? Usually it's the credit cards, right? Then maybe it's the lawn care. Maybe it's the utilities start to fall behind. I want these things to start to resonate with you inside your head because I want you to start to think like I've been thinking for the last 20 years. Look, nobody wants to try to quote unquote steal somebody's house. But what you need to do is you have to talk common sense. So far this year, we've helped 5 families escape foreclosure and leave their home with equity. And those homeowners that we helped, normally when we get brought into the picture, my company, we actually get paid by the buyer. But I explained to the seller their circumstances and what's going on. You don't want your file or your house to get red flagged or redlined and someone sees that your property's on a foreclosure list. Why is that? Because then they're going to do what? They're going to come in at a lower price. They might not want to pay retail for that property. So the sellers actually paid us our fee for services and walked away with decent chunks of equity and didn't sit in their property and did not ruin didn't ruin their equity and they didn't ruin their credit. It's a different type of market that we're in right now. Let's talk about divorce. Let's talk about separation. This is massive. I am seeing people now more than ever that I have probably in about 10 years that are coming to me and saying, look, things on my house, I'm not getting along with my spouse, significant other, whatever, but we're underwater on our house, or we're close to what we owe on the mortgage, or we don't know where we're each going to go at this point. What do you suggest? Well, obviously, I suggest, hopefully, if you guys can reconcile and get back on the same page and not sell your property, that would be a good thing. But that isn't for all cases. So if somebody loses their income, their marriage is falling apart, and they have equity in their property, the worst thing to do is what? Stay in your house and drain the equity out of the house. Best thing to do is to suck as much equity as you can out of that property, figure out how to divide that money equally, because obviously in most cases, There's children involved here, and you want to be able to have stable environments for both. If there's a way where you can get into a rental before going into that foreclosure aspect, it's going to help. Why? Because they're pulling your credit report. They want to know you're what? Credit worthy. We're running into situations where people are waiting to the very end or thinking about waiting to the very end. And I'm telling you, that's a horrible way of thinking, because I know plenty of landlords right now that if you don't have a 700 credit score, they're not going to rent to you. And if you don't have a 700 credit score, guess what? They're probably going to ask for 3, 6 months. And one of the cases that we had, they had to pay 12 months rent up front to secure their rental property. So think about that. Covered this. We covered this. The importance of understanding if you're going through a divorce and you're living in the property. I'm seeing people right now that are literally doing conscious uncoupling, and they're staying in the house because they can't afford rent, or the husband or the wife that might have to pay alimony might have to pay the other rent for the other property. So it's important to speak with empathy when you're talking with these people that are in trouble, because in some cases, refinancing is not something that's on the table. Take it step by step when you're talking with these people on the telephone and finding out what is it that they need. What is it that they're ultimately trying to achieve when they're selling this property? Because at the end of the day, once they go 3 months past due on their mortgage payment, they're going to get a letter that says you are approaching or you are in pre-foreclosure or in foreclosure. That's the definition of pre-foreclosure. Now, can you get out of it? Can you make a payment and still be 2 payments behind? Yeah, but that's a rolling 60, right? Eventually that's going to catch up in probably 2 months, where the bank's going to say, hey, super great. Maybe we could do a loan modification. Loan modifications are detrimental right now. They're catastrophic to people that are in trouble, that had lower interest rates, that might want to go into or might have to go into a higher interest rate. One of the things that we are doing right now is we are talking to lenders for homeowners that are not listed, not on the MLS, and seeing what type of things we could put in place for the homeowner so their interest rate doesn't go up. So there are things that happen behind the scenes nobody wants to talk about. These are properties that may or may not make it on the MLS. And obviously, I work with real estate agents that said to me, Matt, look, if the homeowner can save their house, great. But if they can't save their house, I want the listing. Not a problem. But it's about doing the right thing for the people that invested their hard-earned savings trying to save their property, staying in it. People are saying to me now, Matt, how is it possible? And this is really important, so really pay attention. You want to gloss over all the other sides? Listen to what I'm saying right now. People are saying to me, Matt, how is it possible in 2024, again, how somebody doesn't have equity in their property? What if they did a loan modification? What if they did 2 loan modifications? Okay. What if there's something that's not on title, that's not showing visibly, and the title company doesn't pick it up, right? It's important to have somebody like Emily in your corner so she can actually ask the hard questions when real estate agents bring these types of properties. If you're going on a listing appointment, you're talking with somebody that may or may not have fallen behind on their mortgage. It's important. Most agents don't pull public records. There's nothing illegal about pulling public records and showing up to the homeowner's house and saying, okay, so I just need to know, did you ever fall behind on your mortgage before? And they might say, no, I didn't. Okay, but in 2018, you did a loan modification. Oh, that's right, I did. But everything was forgiven. Was it forgiven, or was it put on as a silent loan? Is there a partial claim against your property that you don't know about? Now, what happens? Homeowner starts to think and says, wait a second. I interviewed 3 other real estate agents. They didn't just bring up what you brought up. That scares me, but I like the fact that you're informing me on it. Tell me more. Real estate agents reach out to me and say, Matt, can you help me obtain a listing that I'm going on right now where I believe they might have done modifications on it? They're telling me they think they have equity in it. Yeah, 100%. If you don't ask, you don't know. But you have to ask specifically, are you looking for options? What type of options are you looking on? Do you need to sell your house? Do you want to sell your house? Are you relocating? What's the reasoning behind it? Just so you know, a bank, God forbid, somebody has to do a short sale, they don't always have to grant a short sale, just so you know that. So when someone says to me, oh, every property I list, I get a short sale on. Well, you're lucky because that doesn't always happen on every single property. Maybe you're not doing the volume that I'm doing. So obviously the equity is a massive play with people that are in distress. We are in a different time frame than we were in 2007, 2008, 2009. It's important that everybody understands because there's all this conspiracy theory and everybody keeps saying to me, okay, Matt, well, it's going to be like 2007, 2008 again. What if it doesn't? What if it's not like 2007, 2008? What if, one of the presidential candidates comes in 2026, there's a bill that's passed and that bill helps homeowners? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I cannot predict the future, but people need to realize not paying your mortgage and eating up the equity in your house, it's ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense. During the housing crash in 2008, many homeowners found their properties worthless because of the mortgage balances. Okay. Many of these people tried to refinance these properties. If anybody, and if you haven't, if people haven't watched the movie The Big Short, Google Big Short, because there's a scene in the movie, and I think it's Stephen Carell goes and knocks on the door and says, hey, I'm looking for Rufus. Is Rufus home? And they're like, Rufus? Like, no, Rufus doesn't live here. Oh, he doesn't? Oh, this is his house. Rufus, that's my landlord's dog's name. They wrote a mortgage in the dog's name. So when someone says to me that it wasn't the Wild Wild West back then, I can tell you it was absolutely the Wild Wild West back then. Okay. Let's get into important things when people might start to become behind on their mortgage. All right. Let's talk about early intervention opportunities. The homeowner cannot avoid mail that comes to the house. You could talk to somebody, a friend of the family, whatever it is. If you're in a general facility and you say, hey, do you have any of that mail that I could take a look at? I've literally walked out of people's houses with 2 brown paper bags or a hamper with letters unopened, with opportunities to save their property. Those opportunities have gone all the way down to, you've got a final judgment on your property. Most homeowners, and I mean most, 95% of homeowners have no idea what to do when they are behind in their mortgage, or if they're experiencing some type of legal notices. What do? They bury their head in the sand. Huge no. Can't do it. You want to be their eyes and ears, right? So when you're talking with somebody and you're saying to them, what type of solutions are you looking for? What type, are you looking for options? Look, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, let me be the voice of reason for you. Let me lend a helping hand. Let me look at the stuff that you got. If you have it, can scan it, great. If not, you can always send somebody over to take a look, pick up the documents, and bring it to me. Foreclosure avoidance. Okay. The types of programs that used to be available are not there right now. So if anybody tells you that there's types of programs that are available, it's not necessarily true. There are state programs for each individual state where a homeowner might qualify up to $75,000 to help reinstate their mortgage and or use that money for bills. Does anybody exercise that? No, they don't. They wait to the last minute, a week before a house is going to auction, and say, oh, well, I just put my application in. Those people are screwed unless they go in front of a judge and file an urgent motion or file bankruptcy or literally throw themselves on the mercy of the court and say, Your Honor, I didn't know. And don't be surprised if the judge says, hey, you didn't know for 5 years and now your auction's next week. And now you want to come to me and you're saying, oh, I need help. Those cases are getting thrown out. So obviously, um, everything is time sensitive. So if you're going to do an adjustment to the loan, or if you're going to do some type of short sale, make this clear to the homeowner and write this down. If you don't have a full packet in with the bank 37 days prior to an actual auction, when I say a full packet, I mean the property's listed, the property's marketed, property's under contract, you've got everything in, and explain that to the bank, lending institution, servicer, whoever it is, or if you go in front of a judge, giving them a full packet with a cover page, basically stating, look, this is what's going on. I have everything in. We got it within 37 days for the file to be reviewed. We need a 60-day extension. You got a better shot at getting that done. So think about that because it's very important. Now, let's talk about the offers for loan adjustments. Now, let's say somebody has a sale date on their property and they didn't do what they needed to do. One thing you can do to stop the sale of the property is to go in front of a judge with a loan modification, a packet that was put together and that show proof that was actually sent to the lender. That way, it makes it easier for them to say, okay, well, is the file in review? They'll call the lender and say, hey, is the file in review? It may or may not be. If it's not, guess what? There's a possibility you're going to lose your house at auction. So ignoring the mail is going to result it. Ignoring the mail is going to basically make it so you're going to lose valuable home equity in your house. So that I know I'm trying to cover a lot in a very short period of time, but I want to get to the Q&A part of this as well. So it's important that everybody understand, if you have a financial hardship, tell your people, call the bank. If they can't call the bank for them. Explain to them what they are up against and what needs to be done. Take a drink. Adding value to homeowners that are in trouble. So there's a couple, like 4 slides for this. Educate the homeowners, right? Let them know foreclosure alternatives. Providing the information for loan modification, short sales, and programs that might be available. Don't offer something that's not available, because guess what? The homeowner is going to remember that and they're going to use that to you at a later date. After 20 years, I learned my lesson many times on that. Find out what state programs are available for homeowners that are in distress. Offer resources for government programs. You can Google these types of programs. Deed in lieu foreclosure, not a huge fan. That is a very last resort, and a deed in lieu foreclosure is a pain in the ass. In some cases, it's hard to do, and the banks they promise, and I say it, promise money. But in the end is they could actually say, yeah, we'll promise up to $10,000. Homeowner doesn't read it. It says $10,000 to them, but it says up to. They could literally have somebody walk through the house, which might be a home preservation company or private inspection, before the deed in lieu process is complete. Guess what? Something is still left in the house. Now that 10,000 maybe now is dwindled down to $1,200. I've heard many horror stories. Have we pulled people out of deed in lieu situations, short sell their house, and gotten them money? Yes. But again, you can't promise people money. And that's the issue I'm coming across with homeowners. And they're saying, well, my last agent said, or this agent said, or are you saying I can't get money? No, I'm saying I need authorization to do what? Speak with the lender and find out what's available. And just so you know, if something says Wells Fargo on it, it doesn't mean necessarily Wells Fargo still owns it. That might just be the servicer. It could be somebody else who owns the mortgage, the collateral paperwork. Think about that for a sec. All right. Facilitating communication with the lenders. Assist the homeowners in preparing and submitting hardship letters. Hardship letters, massive. guide them through the process of contacting the lenders and understanding the documents that are required. Communication from the lender is what? Very important. Okay. Now, if you're talking with somebody and the property is not listed, it's very important to offer them insights of potential home sales, conducting a comparable market analysis, doing a CMA to determine the home's current market value. Very, very, very important. Advise them on the conditions of the property, pricing strategies, and possible interested buyers. Not my cousin or my brother-in-law, but like real people. If you're a player in this industry, you have people that might be interested in these types of properties. I deal with investors all over the United States. Remember, I'm doing this all over the United States. I'm having a great time. I'm helping people and I'm educating people. There's out there people right now that are trying to emulate what I'm doing. They're behind the eight ball, and I'll explain to you at the end why. Guide homeowners through the short sale process if it comes to that, in negotiating with the lenders and managing the buyer's offers. Guys, you got to have everybody on the same page. If people are not on the same page from the very beginning, when you work on these types of strategies, I'm almost going to guarantee those files are not going to get to the closing table. I'm literally right now on the cusp of walking away from a short sale, and nobody can understand why. And I'm going to tell you why. I'll never say anybody's names. But when I got a piece of shit buyer's attorney that doesn't see the value in what my company brings to the table and the services that we provide, and your client is trying to get the property $100,000 under market value, and I know how to combat that versus the average person that's out there, and everybody else can see it, but the buyer's attorney is being an SOB, there's no need for my company to be involved. So at that point, I'd rather back out, let everybody else try to figure it out. And at a later date, if they didn't rip this thing apart, and remember, all phone calls are recorded for quality control and training purposes. Those phone calls are used against you. Banks process, they do not negotiate. Think about that. Banks process, they do not negotiate. Okay? It's solutions over excuses. So agents are telling me all the time, oh, this is ridiculous. I can negotiate my own short sale. Why the hell, why the hell would you want to negotiate your own short sale when you can go out there and help even more people and have a team behind you that can help you? I'm not trying to sell you my services, but I'm here to add value. Now, take a minute if you have your smartphone in front of you and scan this QR code. It's a free cheat sheet. And I got that terminology, cheat sheet, from my good friend Dan Satowski. 7 most important steps to handle any short sale. This is the 7 most important steps to handle any short sale. Download it because people ask me these questions all the time, and I say, look, besides this, you can go to Amazon. You can purchase my book if you want. I have no shame. Here it is. Short Sale Savage. You can get it on Amazon. There's a massive amount of information in this book that helps real estate agents obtain listings. It shows homeowners that are in trouble with their property what to look out for real estate agents. Talks about the process. It's got many stories in there, and it has people that I do business with in there as well. All right, so hopefully you guys scan this. Now, this is something else I want to give you guys. This is a free Facebook group that I offer. I offer this group because I try to help as many people as I can. There's not enough hours during the day, and obviously I'm a busy, busy person, and I love the fact that I could get on here, and I appreciate Emily Robinson for having me on here from Rally Point title. But this is a group that I put together called Short Sales 101. Now, I added a slash to it. Now it's Short Sales 101 // distressed properties, because we're seeing a lot more people that are in distress. Some people need to sell their property quick. I have people that buy properties quick, but they're buying them for discounts. I also have access to private money for funds to help these people that need to sell their property. Scan that QR code and join that group. That group, I do live videos in that group. I don't do live videos on my regular Facebook page anymore. If anybody follows me on my regular Facebook page, I do them in this group specifically because I want to obtain it. Okay. Now I must be doing something right because when I first started, there was 24 people on here. Now there's 28 and nobody left. So I guess what I'm talking about is riveting. Riveting, I said. So I hope everybody scanned this. Now, if you want to reach out to me, that's my toll-free number. You could call that 24 hours a day, literally 365 days a year, and somebody will pick up that phone. That's my website. And on my website, you can scan that QR code if you want, QR code if you want. And that has information in there on that website that's very pertinent. There's a tab on there that says Get Help. And the Get Help form was amazing. And the reason why I decided to do that was because I wanted to make it so people could physically go on and figure out, are you a homeowner in trouble or you a third party person? And it actually asks the questions. It asks the questions that if you want to ask these people that are in distress with their property. What I do is not rocket science. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. So I hope everybody, appreciated and got some type of information out of this presentation. I hope this presentation helped at least one person. Always remember, it's not a no until you get a restraining order. Hit me with the questions.
So, Matt, I just want to kind of ask you to kind of explain one thing. Was like, where in the process of, like, if a agent is talking to someone who doesn't really know if they want to sell their house yet, or they might be like, oh, I don't know, I have these things I don't want to sell. Like, where do you come in the conversation, or like, what are the questions an agent should ask to kind of, because these are like you said before, it's sort of a delicate topic, right? You need to tell people they have options, not like, hey, I'm going to sell your house.
Yeah.
So, give everybody here sort of like maybe a version of what that would look like, where they would involve you to sort of help them get the listing, right? Or sale or whatever. So
Yeah, understood. So look, it's super easy. I tell people all the time, put me in the hot seat. If you want to schedule a call with me, you want to have a casual conversation just to get an idea of what type of value I can really bring to real estate agents, investors, and obviously homeowners that are in trouble with their properties, it's really easy. I am going to give clarity to somebody who's in trouble with their property. They haven't paid their mortgage, they have no means to pay their mortgage, they've got to sell their house. If they have a means to pay their mortgage and now they're back on track and they have a job, there's no guarantee that that person is going to be able to, get back on track with their mortgage. How many loan modifications have they had, right? Did they do a deferment on their loan? Was there a forbearance in place? So there's a lot of variables that come into place. I'm not telling people become the specialist. And there's a lot of people out there paying a ridiculous amount of money for education, ridiculous amount. I don't think people need to pay a ridiculous amount of money for education for this. Use me as a resource. My services get paid by the buyer. So if you're a real estate agent and you're looking to get, the 3 to 6% or whatever it is, and have a rock star company behind you that can help you navigate, the answer is yes. What I would say is definitely make some time to reach out to me and call the 800 number, that I flashed up on there. If you want, I'm going to make it super easy. If Emily, if you could put in the chat, maybe my full name. My full name is Matthew Merenoff. And if you go to MatthewMerenoff.com, all my contact information pops up, including my cell phone number. And you'll actually see what I'm doing, and you'll see the Google reviews of people that have utilized the service. Now, is this a sales pitch? No. This is me saying, look, if you're looking for an avenue, there might be people on here and say, hey, I don't need you. Great information. I'm going to run in a different direction, and I'm going to do it myself. God bless. I wish you the best. So if you want to reach out, the best thing to do, even before you approach the homeowner, or if you've approached the homeowner, or if you say, hey, I'd like to bring in a specialist. His name is Matt Merenoff. He runs a company, Realestate Recovery Group. He's been doing this for 20 years, and he took his concept nationwide. He's in Jersey, the properties in Virginia, worst case scenario, you find out your options. Makes sense? You wouldn't say no. I don't really get people to say no to that. And agents call me and laugh and they say, "Oh my God, that's great. It really worked." What other questions? Somebody raised a hand, I thought.
Yeah, I saw one that said, when you were talking about the 37 days, Linda asked days prior to what? I believe it's auction date, but the other one is 37 days true is that true for all states?
37 days? Yeah.
It is, okay,
Yep.
okay.
Bank has to have an active file in review 37 days prior to an actual active sheriff's sale. It's a pain in the ass. There are ways around it, but it is a pain in the ass.
Okay.
I have a question. This
Oh
is
yeah,
Dominic
Dominic
Leoty.
has a question. Go ahead.
A lot of what's happening is, and I'm seeing this happening with the short sale, not the short sale, with the reverse mortgages. I have a client, has a reverse mortgage, husband passed away, property's in disrepair. It's really tight with the market value. Matter of fact, it may be a wash if we do a short sale, but the thing is, she has no money and no place to go.
Got it.
What do you do in a situation like that? Is there any way that the bank could participate, or is it just the buyer participating? And if the buyer participates, does the bank want to take that money as well?
That's a great question. This is being recorded, right, Emily?
It is. You want me to keep it
No,
recorded?
keep it recording. Yeah,
Okay,
100%.
yeah.
It's good stuff.
I figured this one, it's out of the norm from a normal
No,
mortgage perspective, but
I deal with it all the time, 100%.
yeah, it is a mortgage, and right now it's going into foreclosure.
But I want to ask you a question,
Yeah.
and maybe you don't know this answer. I already know the answer. Why is it in foreclosure?
She hasn't paid her taxes and the property is in disrepair. These are the two main things that reverse mortgages is where they catch you on it.
You got it.
Okay, so
That the taxes and insurance have to be paid, and if they're not, it will force somebody, they have to sell their property. So in this situation, depending on where the property is, right, and the needs for the homeowner, there might be something that we can work out. People are like, this is a gray area, but there is a way to help the homeowner. Now, the bank is not going to offer any type of moving expense money, probably about 95% of the time. Do we get money sometimes? It's very, very rare that we do it. So I'm going to say 95% of the time the answer is no for that. As far as selling the property, reverse mortgage short sales can be very easy, but they can also be a pain in the ass. You got one shot to show, one shot, and there's really no disputing the value. So everything has to be in play to be able to navigate. So if you're saying the property is truly in disrepair, where are you located, Dominic?
this property is located in New Jersey. It's on a waterfront. It
Okay.
needs approximately, I would say, I did an assessment on it. It needs about 300,000, maybe a little bit more to restore it to some kind of good saleable,
Got it. So there is a good chance. Well, let me ask this question. Did you know what a reverse mortgage that a homeowner, family member can actually purchase the property?
We already looked at that. One's broke, the other one's broker.
I love it. Not that they can't do it, but I have a solution for you. So you should definitely reach out to me. I think I can figure out a way to help the homeowner, help you get your real estate commission, and basically, get this thing done.
What I wanted to just say to you is what I did do was I did connect with the bank. I did show them that the house was listed. We were making a concerted effort to sell the property. We did have offers come in, but it was below market value, or below actually the loan. It was below the loan balance.
Okay. So did you submit a packet yet to the bank?
Not a full packet, not a hardship or anything.
Don't send anything to the bank until you and I speak. And I know the people around here like, wait, I want to know why. Because if he sends a packet in, he's going to have one shot to send the packet in correctly. And I can help you tweak that packet, make that packet right. Go ahead.
Just so you know, the only thing I did send was I sent a request for, since we were listed, I sent a request for an extension. And they granted an extension not to foreclose, since we were on the market.
Well, hold on a second. So you're saying there's a sheriff's sale date on this house?
Not yet, but I asked for them to kind of be patient so we can try to find a
But did
buyer.
you exercise the 2 adjournments?
No.
Okay, good.
No, the only thing I did for her was I said to the, I got to the point where I said to her, I said, you need an attorney at some point, and I do have an attorney that would work with her, but she doesn't even have the money for that. I mean,
All right, I just want to make it clear on reverse mortgage, and this drives me nuts, and I always fight with asset managers about this. They will not pay for an attorney in a reverse mortgage. It's bananas. But don't worry about it, because we could talk about it. But let's talk offline about it. Who else has questions? Because I know we're running out of time.
thank you, Matt.
Oh, does anybody else have a question, or I'll just read one of the other ones I saw? No, okay. It was just from Bill saying like what your, I guess how much you charge for the services. It sounds like it's like a buyer side, the buyer pays.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Okay, that's fine. I guess Bill, if you want to get with Matt afterwards, if you have more questions like that, but does it depend on the transaction?
Who, me?
Yeah,
Listen, at the end of the day, when there's a situation and somebody needs to sell their house and there's no equity in the property and the homeowner's broke,
Mhm.
then the buyer physically pays for services. They pay my company a minimum of
okay,
$10,000 or 3% of the sales price of the house. And I will say this, the average agent that understands and sees the value of it and explains, and everybody's on the same page, then nobody ever scoffs at it. Because the average person that's buying the property, they're actually getting really good deals on these houses.
yeah, absolutely. At that point, it wouldn't matter that much. Okay, so I'm
Hey,
gonna,
Matt, can you hear me?
I can, gorgeous. How are you?
No, this is Bill. Yeah, just that's great. And I definitely know the value. I mean, I met Emily in 2007. We were doing 2 short sales a month and we were making bank. And it was easier in those days. And I've stuck with her ever since because she is so competent and I appreciate her hosting you. My other question is, you used to be able to pound these things out 30, 60 days. What's your average time frame now to get them done?
Yeah, I was wondering if anybody was going to ask me that question.
Mhm.
So the average, look, here's the problem that I run into. I have sellers that don't give me paperwork that we need. And then when they do get me the paperwork, the timeline runs out. And when the timeline runs out, we got to ask for all documents all over again. So we're pretty persistent with getting the documentation. With that, our average is about 2 to 3 months.
I mean, that's not bad. I definitely see the value in the full file. I mean, Emily will tell you back in the day, I was door knocking these. I appeared in court for one of my clients because his lawyer was on vacation and got a 7-day extension from the judge. So I know the drill. I know the importance of the full file. But yeah, I definitely want to talk to you offline because I see the opportunity and I want to jump back in with both feet.
100% love it. And I love the endorsement that you gave Emily. She's a
Yeah.
new friend of mine and she's actually working on
No,
a few
Bill's
short
great.
sales.
Bill's great.